You're good to start. So Phil, you can go ahead and start whenever you're ready.
Okay, well, welcome all. Appreciate your time this afternoon. And I do want to go around and have everybody give them a little chance to introduce themselves, tell us a little bit about them, what their business is like, where they're from. So just a little, if you've got a 30 to 45 second infomercial, if you can give the group the update. I'd like to start with Bertha.
Hey. Hi, everybody. Good to see you all. Bertha Robinson. Star One Professional Services is my coaching consulting firm, and I'm based out of Somerset, New Jersey. Right now, my whole mindset is how do I help teams, especially business owners and remote teams, and I'm looking forward to your presentation today, Phil.
Well, thank you, Bertha. Virginia.
Hi, my name is Virginia Timmons. My company is Soundboard Advisors. I'm based out of Chelmsford, Massachusetts. Most of the work that I've done in my business has been either in one-on-one coaching or group engagements, primarily in leadership development and strategic planning. And my portfolio right now is very heavily weighted towards small businesses, and I'm working on rounding it out a little bit better with some larger businesses and corporations, which is where my background was before I started my coaching business.
Very good. Thank you for sharing. Bob.
Yes, my name's Bob Kinney from Tampa. I run a business advisory company called Accelerate Results Group. We help our clients implement common sense, low-cost approaches to continuous improvement and performance acceleration. My target market is small and medium-sized manufacturing companies. For the most part, I'm in that market. Sometimes, though, I end up working with startups like entrepreneurs who are really just getting started. I like to focus on all things talent with the IMX tools, and then Kaizen tools, which is from my background in operations, and then implementing high growth strategies.
Very good. Thank you, Bob. Patrice.
Hi, I'm Patrice Manuel. I'm the owner of P Strata. P Strata is a management consulting company in Kansas City. We've been in business for about almost 20 years. And I've been a member for about 19 or 20 years. We do a lot of state, federal, and local government contracting. We put a lot of emphasis on leadership development and training.
Very good. Thank you. How about Tom?
Tom Leonard. I live in Charleston, South Carolina. My business is Leonard Strategic Advantage. I do three main things: strategic planning, sales training, and team leadership training. And usually I do somewhere between 50 and 100 processes per year. Not this year, due to COVID-19, it's caused me to stop. So I have to see making it happen, getting business results now. So how's that?
Very well put. Thank you. And Robert.
Hi, well, my name is Bob Fritz, and Bertha, like you, I'm from New Jersey, Morristown, but I lived really close to Somerset. In fact, I was a member of the Somerset Y, but have recently sold that house. I'm here at my lake house in New York State, and also have bought a place down in Florida. Now, I say that because part of my challenge right now is to keep this business going, to actually build this business from two different locations, relying on Zoom primarily, which we're all doing, I guess, but see where we go from there when things start to clear up. Financial advisory is an area I try to focus in. My background is in media and a lot of financial media. So I know a lot of those people and still serve on some boards of organizations that relate to that group. Other than advisors, media in general in the construction industry are areas that I focus on, both sales and leadership, and usually start off with the IMX process in order to get confidence and open doors and start to get things to happen. I have not been extremely successful yet because I've been focusing on moving and doing other things, but I really want to hunker down right now.
Good, thank you. And I'm Phil Gafka. My firm is named LEAP Coaching. That stands for Leadership for Enterprises and Professionals. So my three-legged stool consists of leadership development, do a lot of executive coaching. I've run a couple of companies, so I try to leverage that behind the desk experience to help my clients learn how to lead what they should lead versus trying to manage it. And then the third part, I do a lot of culture work with organizations because a lot of them get it way wrong. I'm sure you all know that because they say that and do that, and trying to get them to work that parallel path. So a lot of my time is right there on the culture side. This is my end of my 12th year in business as a solo and been loving it. And I'm sure that my business is like yours. You know, COVID did nothing to affect it. And there's really no need for this phone call. Hey, thanks all for signing in today. Now, it's changed a lot of things. And what I'd like to go quickly around the group again, and please identify one or two things that you'd like to come away with today so we can make sure that, you know, I could go off on tangents. It's more about what would you like to talk about? What can we as a group, and that's, I say, I have limited, you know, I know what I know, and my family will let me know what I don't know. So I'm sure that, you know, you understand that part. So this is a group discussion. It's not Phil talking for an hour. We'd all go nuts. So let's sharing, and let's get the right things on the table that you all want to walk away with something of value. So we're going to go, Bob from New Jersey, I'm going to let you start on this. Oh, we'll give you a minute. How about Bob Kinney?
Oh, who do you want? You want me to go first?
Yes, sir, please.
Okay. Well, it's starting to change now. When we started these in March, April, a lot of these discussions were, what are ideas people have right now when getting out to clients was, let's say in a lot of areas, it was actually impossible because, you know, it just wasn't allowed. But now I'm starting to see things are opening up. I've been working on some active proposals right now where I will be getting out and meeting with clients, but I'm still always interested in different ideas that people in our network, like everybody on the call now, different ideas that they're trying that are, you know, working, that just happen to be, you know, a different approach, whether it's how to lead with, you know, what tool to lead with, and just different techniques that seem to be working in the marketplace at this time. So that's kind of what I'm.
Okay, good, thank you. How about Bob from New Jersey?
He's in New York and he's muted.
Oh yeah, I went up to get a cup of coffee. I screwed up. Could I just go second or third?
Yeah, again, I just want to get an idea. What specifically, if this were the most successful call ever, what would you have walked away with for you?
Fresh ideas, examples of proven techniques that I could mimic or bake into my own repertoire. Experience in probably dealing through troubled times.
Very good.
Off the top of my
Thank you.
head. Okay.
Thank you. Very good. Virginia.
I would echo what Bob Kinney said in terms of any learning that people have had that's working now in this environment. And in general, I'm really looking to, as I said, get a better balance in my portfolio and in my funnel. And so any insights that people might have in terms of even industries or things like that, where they're getting a lot of traction right now, or techniques to bring in that new business.
Okay, good. Thank you, Virginia. How about Patrice?
I think what I'm looking forward to is having an idea of where businesses need to pivot, or where they're just taking a pause as far as things that we're going back to and things that we're not going back to.
Okay.
I guess some people call it a new normal, but I don't know if that's what we want to call it. But, you know, is it going to be more of a gig economy or gigapreneur where people are just working gigs on a 1099? Are we going to go back to doing more reputable things that take us back to how we used to be?
Very good. Okay. Bertha?
Phil, I came in thinking for some tips on, I'm reflecting over the 45 days to targeted class, and I'm trying to pivot to the targeted class online, whether it be one of our, like a strategic process or one of the mini processes that have been presented over the summer. So I did
Okay. Very good. And Tom?
Well, that Kenny's a sage guy because Virginia and I are both on the same path. If you find an idea that works, can't say it much better than that. Now, believe it or not, last week was our 26th week of COVID hibernation. Doesn't seem significant, but divided by 52, it's exactly half a year. We're in our 7th month of this craziness. So one of the things I'm starting to look at is, and I wonder, we may not have had a recession had we masked and distanced from the beginning. And so I am actually starting to tell some of my customers, if you can mask, tell us you mask and distance, I'll do that. I was up with one of my customers last week. I've done it a couple times. They're really distant. It's a company called Home Telecom, and they want to meet in person. And so with mask and distancing, I'm going to start to open that up. I had a sale ahead of time that's been sitting for 6 months because they want to meet in person. So I just sent them an email and said, you know what? If you can say we'll be distanced and we'll be masked when not properly distanced, I'm willing to open that up again versus Zoom only, because it seems in training people don't like our Zoom as much as in person, and our business is pretty much an in-person business. So anyway, that's maybe that's one of the ideas that's going to work for everyone. But that's just what I started on last week, as I said to my wife, this is 6 months of this craziness, and I've kept all my current business, every bit of it, and picked up a little bit from current business, but not picked up anything new. And that's always an issue. And that's where I happen to like the processes that the Talented Advisor has. So, and I've got a big bank of them that I want to sell.
Okay, very good. Very good. I'll just add a little bit on, when COVID came and we shut down, my prospects were gone. And I didn't follow up right away because I figured everybody's just trying to figure this out. So I gave it about 60 days and followed up. One came on. The other 3 said, we're on a hold and we have no idea for how long. And so I respect that. I'll still touch base. But it's definitely, I think, Tom, you hit a key point. I've kept clients, and I have clients that want to do more. And I have just a little bit of new business. So same thing. I think there's a lot of companies out there, but I think it's opening up. They're just starting to figure out, I better do something positive to move forward versus just trying to tread water. So I think we're starting to see some of that. Who's found something that's worked? Well, first of all, hands. Raise hand. Have you written new business since COVID started? Okay. What's worked in the past? I mean, I'm talking foundational things. When I hear people go out and give their, in a networking group, whether it's on a Zoom call or in person, they give them that 30 to 60 seconds to do an infomercial. And I don't know about you folks, but I do hear more blah, blah, blah than I'd care to hear. And I think people get caught up on what they do versus how and why. I mean, I'm in a networking group here in the metro area, and it's half of them are attorneys. And there's about 40,000 attorneys in northeastern Illinois. And so when they get up and tell me what they do, it's like right through to the other side. But the person that can get up and give me an idea of how they work with their clients or why they work with their clients, that now is a true differentiator. That's what truly makes us unique, not what. Okay, so we're all coaches. Okay, now what? It doesn't give us any and the individuality. So client stories, specific situations, you know, I think when I couple that with what I think people need to work on, whether I'll be on a Zoom call for a group I run Wednesday morning, we'll have 30 some people. And it'd be nice to create that little infomercial that all 30 some people go, ooh, that was so good. That's probably not going to happen. I sometimes think we go for too broad of an audience when I know how I build my business. I go out and get the next client. All right, so if I can go to a Zoom meeting or an in-person meeting, and hopefully we'll be back to that one of these days, I only want to really say something provocative enough that one person gives me a tug on the sleeve and goes, hey, let's talk about this. Because the odds of me going and impressing 30 some people or 50 or whatever the number, that's not going to happen. So I try to take a more pragmatic approach, and they've probably pulled on my sleeve and said, hey, let's chat, because I said something different than every other coach that they hear. So again, moving away from your what to your why or your how. And getting stories going on that side. I mean, that not only has been effective for me pre-COVID, it's been effective for me since I began, since I learned it. Since I was brought up short by a good networking partner who gave me that little lesson. So this is borrowed brilliance. I didn't figure this one out on my own. But that's the point. We're going to do some borrowed brilliance today. Excuse me.
This
So
Patrice,
you can
I think.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think a lot of times people are trying to figure out how to get through where they are with family, with the whole 9 yards. And so sometimes people are used to people saying, well, how are you doing? Instead of saying, tell me how you're really doing. What can we be authentic about in this conversation that we're having? And that's what I do to a lot of my clients. And one young lady said, you know, I'm doing okay through this COVID, but I'm not used to being in the house. I'm used to traveling, getting out. So I'm off beat. I feel like I'm not on the same beat or pattern that I'm accustomed to. That's an authentic conversation that can help you, everyone else go, oh yeah, I know what that feels like. You're used to traveling, you're used to going places. You're not used to being at home 24/7. So one of the questions I started asking my clients is, what is it that you're missing in the last 6 months? Some people say going out to eat with their family. Some people say being hugged. Some people, you know, but to get that authentic application helps a lot.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And you know, that ties right into this. I mean, I've done, I've blogged for the last 18 months, twice a month on LinkedIn. It's gotten me some 20,000 views, some 4,300 followers, and zero business. You know, of course, I know that's not the way I build my business. I know I go out and I interact with people, and that's how I'm able to get them to see what it is, what I can do for maybe not them, but maybe one of their clients. But again, you do that via storytelling and tying into, you know, what are the, again, very authentic conversation. You know, what are you up against these days? What's working for you? What do you need? And when you can get to that level, I mean, there's a progression here. You and I may know one another. Heck, we might even like one another. But until we get to some level of trust, nothing's going to happen. You know, none of us wants that phone call like, hey, Virginia, what were you thinking when you sicked that Phil guy on me? Nobody wants that phone call. And so until we get to some level of trust, or you go out and earn it with someone else, referrals don't happen. So I think we have to be realistic about how do we really build that network.
One other thing.
Pardon?
I'm sorry, I thought you were done. Go ahead.
No, go.
Well, just along those lines, one of the things that I've been working on, if I reflect on where my current client base came from, it came from those relationships. It came from building relationships in different, you know, a couple of different professional groups. At the same time, I'm, you know, reflecting on that. If that's all I continue doing, I'm still going to have the imbalance in my portfolio that I have right now that I want to change. So going back to this idea of, trusted relationships, one of the things that I'm doing right now is looking at my total professional network, and I'm using my LinkedIn as a basis to start from that. And where do I have relationships that I forgot about? People in industry, people that I went to high school with who are executives now or went to college with. And so I'm really starting to prioritize those. And I can't say whether it's worked or not, because I'm really just moving out on it. But my thought process is reaching out to people that I do already have a relationship with that maybe I haven't touched in a long time, and opening up a Zoom networking meeting or whatever. And one of the other things, somebody was talking about Zoom versus in person. I'm actually looking at the remote working as an opportunity. I have some personal constraints. It makes getting out for coffee and things like that very difficult for me to do often during the week. And I had local clients who insisted on meeting with me in person, and now there's been no choice but to meet over Zoom, and they're getting used to it. And so I'm actually looking at kind of the mindset change that people have had to have about remote being okay as an opportunity to fit more in terms of networking and other things. And then the other place that I had a lot of success getting clients previously was in speaking engagements. But again, if I keep doing the same kind, I'm going to keep getting the same kind of clients. So my next step, after I do some personal one-on-one reach out to people who already know me and trust me, is to start looking at, where can I expand my professional groups or my speaking engagements to hit a different potential type of clientele.
Good, great. So I mean, with that, just when you are talking with people, how are you changing your messaging to lead them in? Pardon?
Yeah, that's a good point. I have to go think about that.
Can I say something, Virginia? There's something that I do. At least once a week, I have a Zoom coffee with someone I know. So I make it in the morning, and we both have a cup of coffee, and we're on Zoom. And it's all set up by me, and whatever time they pick in the morning, we do, hey, it's been a while since we've had time to have a cup of coffee or tea. Meet me on Zoom at this time, and we'll, or pick a time between 7 and 9, and let's have a conversation. And then I reconnect. So, I mean, you can take Zoom and make it even more personable by saying, hey, we haven't talked in a while,
Thank you.
And then there's another, and I'm trying to find the website, and when I do, I'll give it to you. But there's a website, there's a site that you can go to and put in a short video message to someone personally and send it to him or her and say, hey, listen, we haven't talked in a while. I haven't seen your face. Let's get on a session together. And then you just send it to them, and it just goes to that one person, and that's it.
Again, be unique.
Great, thank you.
Very nice.
So I'll see if I can find that before we get out of here. Put it
Yeah,
on
I'd love to know what that is.
Yeah,
Okay.
you can share that with the group if you would, Patrice.
Absolutely. I'll go and see if I can find what it's called.
But that's a great point. We all go out and try to build this new network. What about the people that already know us and like us, and maybe they already trust us? Why are we not putting some time and attention around that? As our lives have changed in the X number of years since we chatted with that person, I'll pretty much bet you their life has changed too. And just to catch up, sometimes it is those magic moments then, well, you may know someone that can help something that they're going through. You're just being a good friend. But, that rekindling of relationships, I think, is as important as going out and building that new network. So when you look at it and we look at your networking events, or just time invested, are you spending equal times on rekindling existing relationships as you are cultivating the new ones? Because I think now that balance is more important than ever. And I can get to Patrice's point, I can get much more mileage out of reconnecting. And I've done a bit of that myself recently. And you get a lot of mileage because I've got people I met when I first started my business. And now I'm seeing them again. It's like a lot has happened, but you already have something to build on. And again, I wouldn't want us to miss any of the fundamentals that helped us build our businesses in the first place. And so those relationships with people. You know, I think then it's, if you can find that small handful of people, if you had 5 or 6 or 7 really close strategic partners, that they swam in the same waters that you swim, they do different things than you do, and they are going to be your person front line. If a client says, hey, I need this, that's the person you go to. And you're the person that they go to when they're with clients. They go, hey, I need a, oh, not anymore. Here's the person you got to work with. So, you know, getting to that level with people that, you know, when you can get that type of understanding of what somebody's looking for, and you can get that kind of a referral into someplace, it's yours to lose. I think it's just how do we navigate, you know, those right people. If you had that little handful of people, and each of them could provide you with 1 or 2 good leads, fill in the blank, per month, per quarter, per half year, even if it was 1 or 2 good per person every 6 months, that'd be 6 right there. And these are people that you'd want to have that special relationship with, that, you know, you call in weekly. Hey, Bertha, who'd you meet? Who'd you talk to? What'd you learn? Who can I, you know, pass you on to, and so forth. But if you could work 5 or 6 or 7 of these really good relationships, I took that thought from reading management books, and you max out at 6 to 8 direct reports. And I'm thinking this kind of works for my business development, that I can handle 6 to 8 good relationships where I have the time, and they'll take the time with me because we are building this together. And if I've got 6 people helping me push the stone uphill, I'm going to do a whole lot better. So sometimes I think we go too broad in our message and try to go too broad to the network versus getting very specific. Who already knows, likes, and trusts you, swims in your waters, works with the right kind of clients that they can hear that magic thing and bring you in. I don't think that's changed. I think that's one of those basics we have to make sure we're doing all the time. When we're out networking and doing business development, are we doing it well? Are we doing the same old, or are we truly connecting with people? And again, to Patrice's point, if you are, you're going to get into those serious conversations a whole lot quicker. And we have the time right now. I mean, I've saved so much drive time by sitting in my Suite 200, which is the 2nd bedroom on the right. And I've been far more efficient, and that's given me the time to go rekindle those relationships as well as work on the new ones. But so we covered a couple of things here, you know, changing your messaging. Virginia, in your case, if you're looking to work with larger organizations, all right, directing your messaging to that and to the people that, you know, you go through your LinkedIn profile, you start doing these one-on-one catch-ups, and now you start, you know, talking toward those goals that you have. Obviously, if you can help that other person, even better. But again, this, I mean, we've got to have a much better purpose for whatever time we're going to spend. So is that person worthy to spend time with? In other words, in my vernacular, do they get it? This is not a quid pro quo game. Bertha helps me, I help Patrice, Patrice helps Bob, Bob helps Tom. Eventually, it comes back. But if you don't understand that that's the way it works, your expectations, I think, you know, those, you know, Giver's Gain books, it's very true. The more energy you put out there to help others, it will come back, because you also become that hub for all your clients. Oh, every time I ask, Virginia always has somebody that I need. You want to be that hub that people come back to. So you have to enlighten them to how broad and how good your network is as well. And again, if you just had a handful of people you started with on that you were all networking in that similar direction, odds are you're going to wind up being able to refer business a whole lot quicker that way. I like the conversation here, mask or no mask. And I don't know if you caught it on the news, but they had a Princess Bride reunion It's like the 30-year reunion. And there's a scene in there where the prince is battling Andre the Giant, and he has a mask on. And Andre the Giant makes a comment. He goes, yeah, you know, pretty soon everyone will be wearing one. Well, that's where we are today. Everyone's, you know, wearing the mask. I feel like I'm robbing banks every time I walk into any place. You know, and it's just, okay, how do we reemerge? I have one client meeting out each of the next 4 days. It's with those parameters. I have clients that have large enough conference rooms, and we're masking. And that's a personal choice I'm making. My wife works at the library in town. They closed up. Before they went back, they had to figure out how to take back over 50,000 items that they had to quarantine and clean. Like, I think my problems are a little bit easier sometimes. But it's affected all of us in every way. You know, so when you look at, I think the reemergence is a very personal issue. And I have a client that runs a pretty good sized restaurant, and he's doing very well considering just making it on carry out and delivery. But his dilemma is, you know, if I open too soon, are people going to think I'm a Republican? If I stay closed, are they thinking I'm a Democrat? He goes, all I want them to think of me is as a business person. But that's part of this whole reemergence. People are going to think you're making a political statement when you're not. And so you have to understand there's going to be a lot that goes into these discussions. And I can say I've got one in a row for 4 days in a row. But I'm relatively sure, and I'm of that age. I'm going for Social Security next, well, not that, Medicare, excuse me, that comes first. But you know, we all have to make those personal decisions. You know, have any of you crossed a line that you didn't think you would cross by going out and seeing people or a client?
No.
Okay. Again, your line may be different than mine, but the point is,
That's right. It's a question of the line.
Right, and that's the thing with, you know, are you at that same line with your client? You know, we're going to, my opinion, we're going to have to figure out how to reemerge. It's only a question of when and how. It's not a question of if. We're social beings. We need that interaction. You know, how fast we do it, how wise we do it. You know, I listen to some of these people, I lived a good life. If I get it, I get it. I want to talk with you when you're taking that last breath and see if that still holds true. You know, so again, very personal and very close. And so you have to make those, but I think, I don't know that it'll be a new normal because all we've ever done is evolve, but it will be a new something, and we're going to have to figure it out. We're going to have to figure it out personally and professionally. And I think Zoom goes a long way, but I mentioned I run a networking group in the city. I hate starting the meeting. Because the buzz in the room, people talking, people connecting, people eyeball to eyeball. And I feel like I'm intruding when I go, hey, we got to get the meeting going. To me, that's the most exciting part. And that's how we are as people. Do we let more of ourselves out via Zoom to the right people at the right times to try to create those deeper relationships with people to get to that new level of trust? That's where your business is going to come from. I don't care if it's in person or on Zoom. We are not transactional. I went to a presentation put on by a business coach about Twitter and all this stuff. And he goes, here, I used to work at this restaurant. Their claim to fame was cheesy fries. He said, I start this tweet on cheesy fries. He goes like that. I got X number of followers. What do you think of that? I said, what did it do for your coaching business? He goes, we need to come to my seminar. I go, well, that's not going to happen. But my point is, he's showing me what is easy to do. if it was working in our end of the business, because we're not transactional, we're relationship. Might be good for cheesy fries, it's not going to be good for what we're trying to do. So his message of, you know, may have worked for him, but he wasn't doing anything for his coaching business. That's my point. We are relation-based. How do we go out and create those deeper relationships? You know, the door is open now. We can network anywhere in the US.
In the world.
In the world, thank you. I have 3 clients in Australia right now. We just play with that 13-hour time difference. They're up late at night. I'm an early guy. But you're right. I mean, it opens up. I know it's not going to be like it was, but are we thinking far enough outside the box of what we can do? I love the one about sending the little video, hey, let's reconnect. That's very unique. I've done it with handwritten notes. I send a couple a week, still do it, only because I have the best handwriting in the family. I did get to address my daughter's wedding invitation, so it's pretty, you know, pretty good handwriting. But those little things that you do differently, or as a follow-up with someone. Let's face it, you go to the mailbox at personal, handwritten, you're opening that first.
Yeah.
It scores so many points with people. And then I'll get emails, oh, I got your note, love getting your note. I once had a client that posted it in a common area of the law firm because they'd never seen one. You know, so again, are you really out there developing deep relationships?
That's impactful.
Pardon?
That's impactful, the post-it note in the common area.
Yeah, I mean, because, but this is,
Yeah.
that was the way I was brought up.
Yeah.
My mom, you know, we always wrote thank you notes at our birthdays. We always wrote thank you notes at Christmas. If you can't say thank you, you have a problem.
Yeah.
But just that different personal touch, again, to build those deeper relationships. Patrice, you brought up a point of where to pivot, and I think, Virginia, this ties in specifically to you. What are you changing of where you're networking? Are there professional groups that pertain, you know, Virginia, is it, I don't know, do you normally get in via an HR door to larger companies? What would be the path into a larger company?
Well, in one of my previous large company engagements, it was straight in through the person running the business.
Okay.
And that's what I'm targeting is, you know, the vice presidents or the directors or the presidents running the business areas.
Okay.
I'm looking at contacts that I have in the HR area, but honestly, I'm viewing that more as one of those potential strategic partnerships, or maybe getting referrals to other places, but they're typically not the people that make the decision. They execute the decision of the P&L leader.
Okay. Tom, you've been at it for a while. What about big companies? What's different with a big company for you? If Virginia's going to go after those, where do you normally get in?
Most of my business, since it's strategic plan, is with the owner, the president, whoever the key person is, and meet most of those people through networking or solicitations. There are times where I'll cut out articles, send it to people and say, if you're doing updating, refreshing your strategic plan, I can help you. And I get people back, but that doesn't happen very often. A lot of it comes from networking, and we're a little bit off in that right now. So, but later I want to come back and ask you about culture, since that's one of your 3 areas, because now that I've done this 11 years in strategic planning, I used to say culture doesn't matter much, but the more I've taught this,
Let's arm wrestle. Let's arm wrestle.
I said, the more I've taught this, the more I understand how much it is. So when you get a chance, tell us what you do with culture, and is it related to any of the processes you have with talented advisors?
It's related to everything I do. Culture is king. I wrote a book on leadership. So now Amazon has 40,001 leadership books. But I put a golf theme to it because I like to golf. I called it Hole-in-One Leadership. And book 1 is 9 chapters, the front 9. I am working on the back 9. But I have 2 chapters on culture because I think it's that important. And you know, the main challenge is you got to figure out, okay, what do you want it to be? And those are really, really interesting discussions with clients. And I have a process for taking them through and boiling it down. And that's 1 chapter. How do you identify what you really like to be? The harder part, how do you go live it? How do you live it when the real big, hard questions come into play? And now you got to put your money where your mouth is. And what do you do at that point? That's culture. Are you talking it? Or are you also walking it? And when you get clients that can see it and they start to do both, I mean, that's what well-run companies are clear on, their culture. There's a big drug company here in the area, and at one point, one of my daughters was dating this guy, and he had gone to high school with the CEO's son, now worked at this company, leveraged that to go have a meeting with the CEO. And the CEO told him, we are a dog-eat-dog company. If you're not watching that for your hindquarters, nobody else is. Now, talk about honest. Okay, that's what we are. They owned it. Now, I may not want to work there. And now it's my culture. Where do I want to make it fit? But companies that understand what they are and are willing to talk about it, that's what, all you got to do is just be true to you. I'm not saying they're right or wrong. There's another company in town here called Tasty Catering, and this company's been written up and interviewed. They're totally transparent. Everybody knows what everybody else makes. They know what the boss takes home. They know everything. They are transparent with everything. I don't know that I'm comfortable with that either. But again, it works for them. And that's the main thing about culture. Are they being honest about choosing what works for them and then not just putting it up on the wall, but actually owning it? And when you get them to that place, it's a beautiful thing.
You know, if I may just add to that, because I work with a branding and culture oriented company for a few years. And there's a couple of things. And one is like a brand, the inverse of a brand or culture is your internal brand. If you're living the brand that you're putting out there, your culture is in alignment with your brand. And I think that's very, very important. The other thing is that if a culture isn't created and agreed upon by all the stakeholders and everyone all the way through the company, if it's not there, a culture will inhabit the host. If the host is the company, and it's like mold on bread, it's gonna happen. And so to steer it is the most important thing. And again, not just because it's your vision, but it's because it's a vision that is agreed upon by the stakeholders and therefore the constituents within the company.
Right, exactly. You know, and it's okay, the percentage of employees that are actually engaged with what they do based on a nationwide survey, what do you think that percentage is?
30%.
How many?
30%.
Any other guesses?
Probably, yeah, probably in that third range.
I think it's less
Hang
than
on,
that.
you got, no, it's basically a third.
Okay.
You guys are right there. Okay, so 2/3 of people are not engaged. I think everybody has a responsibility here. But from that leadership level, 2 questions. What are you asking them to engage with or to, i.e. what's their vision? Where are they going? Do they make it provocative enough that people go, man, I want to be on that ride. I want to go with you on that ride. I was working with a children's research hospital in Australia, and they had, their vision statement was about like a big fish story. And this, you know, very medically induced description. And I said, that's great. I have no idea what you're talking about, and neither will your potential donors. You're giving them this blah, 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 and they're not going to understand it. And what are you going to do to excite them? So we worked on this, and they got it down to their, again, Children's Research Hospital, they got it down to 5 words. All kids shall be healthy. We can rally people around that. That's a cause. We may never get there, But that's a vision that people will buy into, especially in that medical research community. They want to be part of something. I think in every business, people want to be part of something. So again, with that 1/3 engaged and 2/3 not, is that business giving them something to engage with or to? And then the other point is, can they hire and live and own culture? Can they hire for culture? Forget about skill set. You can teach people skills, but can you hire for culture? In other words, truly get the people that are going to fit on your team, not be the same, but adhere to those top 3 to 5 core values. And you get that going with people in organizations. I mean, do you all deal with some organizations that really hum? I would hope so, because that's what we're there to help them do. And when they're really humming, they have something going. It's their secret sauce. And it's really not all that secret. They're just, I think, more open and honest about it, and willing to fire. I've had a number of those over the years, and it's been funny. I tell clients, look, you need to do this. So you're not telling them anything they don't know. It's just helping them make the tough decision. And I said, I don't have many guarantees, but I have this one guarantee. You fire somebody that you and everybody else knows they violate the culture, and literally everyone else will sit up a little bit straighter and go, now you're walking your talk. And when you do that, you make people want to be part of something. So culture, I'm not sure who said it, but the quote was, culture eats strategy for breakfast.
Peter Drucker himself, the guy that
Thank
does
you.
strategic planning. I was
Thank
going
you.
to say that later. So Wendy, it's something to think about when you sit around your table. We do strategic planning, but culture, what I was saying, Phil, earlier, is the more I've done this, the more I understand that culture can drive things. It usually emanates from the boss, but
Always, not usually, always.
yeah. So we have to, it's something to think about, Wendy, quite simply, because there's probably some process, which is why I asked you, Phil, when you said, oh, and I do culture too, because I was just talking about one of my key customers, and the responsibility is an issue that they lack. And some people have it and other people don't, and it's not one of their values.
Hey, Tom. Yeah, I think, for the processes, a lot of them, they do a pretty good job, with the idea of culture and how important it is. But I think for sure on the intermetrics tools, when you're talking about how can you know you're hiring the right people, and the intermetrics guys call it engagement mapping, but using the values index to engage, engagement mapping, you can see if people are motivated by what that job is that you're hiring them for. We have the dialogue tool for doing an annual, survey type thing. And then I've always found the best engagement tool is what I learned in Asia is how the Japanese do Kaizen, or what they call their suggestion system, which is basically bottom-up, idea-driven, where people can actually develop and implement their ideas. It's the easiest way to engage everybody because you call on everybody to do that, But I've always found that's the key to the engagement, which I think is the key to culture. I think they go hand in hand. But when you do that strategic plan, you go through your critical goal categories, vision, mission, and that's certainly the start, that these are our core values. Then you cascade the goals and everybody understands what those are. You see how that's going with your dialogue assessment. When you hire people and build teams, you can look at DISC Plus, and the engagement mapping. And then you just need what I've always found is missing is, and I always ask this at a new place, is okay, we talk about engagement, but what tools do we have to really engage people? What can someone do today, every day, to show they're engaged, and where we can then thank them for being engaged? As a general rule, most companies don't have that many tools. We have a lot of tools for catching people doing something wrong. We don't have that many tools for catching them doing something right, which are these kind of idea-driven programs.
Excellent. Thank you, Bob.
And Tom, just so you
Yeah.
know, in the executive leadership, we do have a chapter called Creating the Best Culture that can be used in any of the processes as well. So we do have in executive leadership, we do talk about creating the best culture possible.
I'll
Okay,
throw this
I
out
never
there.
used that one, thanks.
I'll throw this out there. I know because we're getting close to our time here. If any of you want to have, I can do a follow-up one of these or just one off on the side, let me know. I just think it's so important, and I've carved out a pretty good chunk of business, not just specifically for that, but it filters into what I do with everybody. It's so foundational. There isn't anybody that we don't have that somehow continuous culture discussion.
Hey, Phil, if you'd like, I got to find it, and I think I still have it, somewhere electronically. I'd like to share with you a culture presentation that I did with this other firm I was with a couple of years ago out of San Francisco. And I'd like to hear your thoughts on it. Maybe, together, maybe you can help me refine mine, or maybe I can add something to yours.
Okay. You know, send that along. You're looking now?
No, I'm going to look when we're done.
Okay. Well, that's at my networking group one time, working with a client, they found online these, and I can share this with you guys if you shoot me your emails. It was their culture credo. I could probably, I don't want to, do you have like a couple extra minutes?
I actually have a 4 o'clock.
Okay, but I'll get the group, but it was just like, fail forward fast, leave people better than you find them. Don't tolerate victims or assholes. And I said to my network group, who wants to work there? And pretty much every hand went up. Okay, it was that exciting. And it didn't say anything about what the organization did. They had no idea what the company was. They had no idea of the industry, but man, I'd love to work there. And when you can nail that and live it, not only is it successful, it's fun. But yeah, please share it. I'll get this culture credo. Can I get all the email addresses?
I'll tell you what, Phil, to make it easy, if you guys are okay, I can email Phil your email addresses to make it easy.
Sure.
Please do.
Mhm.
Yep, I'll just do it that way. It's easier than you trying to write it all down.
Yeah, thank you. That would be great.
But that's, I think one of the biggest things I do, it's leadership and culture.
Mhm.
Those are the two umbrellas.
And Phil, this is Patrice, the site that I was talking about was Loom, L-O-O-M, Loom,
So loom.com.
Oh, Lou, okay, thank you. Thank
and
you,
has
thank you.
that.
All right, I do want to respect our time, and we've talked about a lot of things today. Being authentic, how we need to revamp our messaging when we are not just doing a little infomercial, but when we're talking with our network. How are we altering our messaging to help them help us get where we want to get to? Because if they don't know, they can't help us. So we've got to be able to articulate what it is we're looking for. When I wrote the book, I said, hey, I want to do more speaking engagements. Hey, I know somebody, but I was asking for it. And again, we've got to be more conscious. So the messaging, rekindling relationships, how important that is. And that concept of know, like, trust, and refer. It's like magic. Whatever networking, making sure that you're getting out of it what you'd like to. So again, that messaging, and do you have the proper, if somebody says, hey, Bertha, what can I really do to help you? Can you tell them? Can you be articulate? All right, who's got one? What are you looking for? Bob from New Jersey, what are you looking for? Just tell me real quick. If I said, what can I do to help you?
You already have.
No, but somebody you've just met, they yell, hey, Bob, like, what can I do to help? What do you need for your business?
I need to have more contacts, and I need to close more business.
Okay, now, if you have that with a good, trusted partner, now let's have the discussion. Let's get deeper into that, and they understand what you really, again, are you committed?
Yeah.
If they see that you're committed, because you're in your own way, your passion is coming through to them, the message is being delivered and received, they want to help you. But however you show your commitment and your passion and your dedication to your art, that's what people are going to buy, and that's when they're going to refer you. That's what you need to go build on a personal basis. So how do you find more of those opportunities to really go deep with someone? And you got to be looking out for them too. This is again, not a direct quid pro quo, but like the big spaghetti bowl you put out, it will come back. It's just the longer term play. I'm going to steal the quote, "Inhabit the host," because that's just like that's music to my ears. But I think a couple of things came up. How you're engaging with your clients, and maybe somehow you just bring a culture discussion in with your clients. Because if they have any problems, the odds that there's some cultural impact or implication is pretty darn high. It's always there, from conflict to you name it. Anybody ever been through a conflict resolution process? That's fun.
Sure. You know, Phil, the culture thing, just quickly, like if you're in a void of conversation with someone, you can't come up with anything. You could talk about two things: traffic tickets that you've gotten away with or gotten, and what's your culture like in your company. And I guarantee you'll have a conversation without question.
Thank you. So just to wrap up, we go really quick around the table. Are you taking anything away? In coaching fashion, what are you taking away from today? Bertha?
Well, when we talked about the story in terms of changing my pitch, depending on the audience that I'm in, whether it's those referral partners or people that I'm looking at that may be prospects, I am going to talk about how a well-run company is clear on their culture. That's a great opener, great discussion.
Thank you for sharing that. Tom?
I guess I started a little bit after you. If you're masked and distanced, I will travel out to see you because I just have to rekindle my business. And it's a personal business.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. Virginia?
I think this discussion really helped me validate the path that I'm on and got me to think a little bit more about the messaging that I use as I move forward with it.
Very good. Thanks for sharing that. Patrice?
The thing that probably stuck with me, and it's something I already knew, but it helped reinforce it, was the level of trust is earned with individuals and companies.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Bob from New Jersey.
All right, basically all above, but it's a reminder you put out there before to lead with why you do something as opposed to what it is you do. That's so important and so easy to forget. And then the other thing is to focus on networking and alter not only the group you're networking to, but the message as needed. That was very, very meaningful to me.
Good. Thank you for sharing. Bob from Tampa, where the weather's always nice.
Yeah, it's been raining for 2 weeks, but yeah, no, it's kind of interesting when you were saying how to do your message, and I don't know where I got my format, but a lot of networking meetings, they'll even say, hey, let's go around and, hey, Tom, why don't you tell us what you do? Bob, tell us what you do. And mine goes what I do and then how I do it and why I do it. So I'm looking at now, how do I reverse that and have a really smooth, why I do it is loyal customers and profitable growth, the two things, every company needs. So that's my why. But I'm going to look and see how I can redo it. That was really good.
Well, and two things real quick, and thank you for sharing that. But I found that, the more you can say it in a somewhat provocative manner.
Yeah.
What I mean by provocative, it elicits a response from them like, tell me more. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it's like a little hook. Okay, and if you can do that, and if it's from here, from inside, mm-hmm. What else? That's what they're buying. They're buying you. Yeah. So do they really know who you are? So you share all this, I think, on a more intimate level, you're going to do very well. Thank you for your time today.
Thank
Kim?
you, Phil.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. We'll be posting this to the affiliate website as always, and everybody stay healthy, stay safe, and have a great rest of the day.
You
Thank
too.
you very much.
Thank you,
Okay.
Phil.
Bye.
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 Thanks, Phil.
You're welcome.